You might have seen this graphic that is doing the rounds on social media telling you that Ozempic and GLP-1s are shredding bone density, which sounds terrifying. So that is what we are going to get into on today's video. But before we get into it, I have recorded many podcasts all about GLP-1s, how to support yourself if you are using them, considerations that you need to take into account, and ways to support your relationship with food and body image with rapid weight loss. So I will share the links for those below. I think the most frustrating thing about this image that's doing the rounds, and lots of people have been giving their opinion on it and talking about how dangerous GLP-1 medications are, is that it doesn't tell us the whole story. The truth is that any weight loss method that results in drastic, quick weight loss can result in bone density loss as well. And this is because as you lose body weight, you lose body fat. But if that is very fast, then you will lose some muscle mass as well. Now, our bones strengthen and adapt to the load that we carry. So if we've lost fat and we've lost muscle mass, there's less load going through our bones, which makes them weaker. And that is what results in bone mineral density being lost. That would happen with any rapid, quick fat loss, not just on GLP-1s. It isn't the GLP-1 medication that's causing bone loss, it's fast weight loss without the correct lifestyle changes. And that is why lifestyle changes such as more protein, making sure you're getting enough calcium, enough vitamin D, and most importantly, resistance training are essential for anybody who is in a fat loss phase, but also just for long-term health and longevity as well. Because what's really interesting is this picture that shows us what bone density looks like in somebody who doesn't eat enough protein and doesn't resistance train as they age. Now, to me, these photos look pretty identical. So it isn't the GLP-1s that are resulting in the bone loss and the bone density issues. It's a lack of protein, a lack of balanced diet, a lack of variety in diet, a lack of getting enough vitamins, minerals, and nutrients in your diet, but also not consistently resistance training. These are the things that cause bone density loss, not GLP-1 medication. Now, the links between obesity and bone health are really, really complex. Some studies show us that obesity is detrimental to our bone health due to inflammation and the expansion of fat cells within bone marrow, which can actually increase the risk of osteoporosis. But then we have other studies that show us obesity can actually be protective of bone health because of an increased load going through your body, your muscles, and your bones, which in some studies strengthens bone density. And then we have other studies that show us people with obesity are at higher risk of fractures due to falls. So the studies that we have on the links with obesity and bone health are really confusing and conflicting. Now, that aside, what we do know is that obesity presents many, many health risks and increases the risk of lots of different diseases. So as fitness professionals, a huge part of our job is to support people living with obesity to drop body fat and improve their overall health, quality of life, and as a result of that, their bone density and bone health as well. But the problems we have with all of this talk around GLP-1s and incorrect information out there is that obese people are judged and shamed for being in larger bodies, but then now they are also judged and shamed for using GLP-1s or other weight loss medications to improve their health. And we do have long-term studies and loads of different research that shows us there are now up to 400 different genes that can increase the risk of somebody living with obesity. Being in a larger body, living with obesity, it isn't just a choice. It's not a case of willpower and discipline. And this isn't me disputing the fact that a calorie deficit still applies. But for some people, there are a whole host of multifaceted reasons and issues that make losing body fat and maintaining a healthy body weight really tough and challenging. One of the most common genes that we have studied linked to obesity is the FTO gene. Now, if somebody carries two variants of the FTO gene, so one from their mum, one from their dad, that increases the risk of them developing obesity by up to 70% compared to somebody who does not have any variants of the FTO gene. The FTO gene and other genes that increase the risk of obesity can all increase food noise, increase hunger levels, reduce satiety after eating meals, increase the risk of binge eating, and also increase the risk of somebody turning to food to soothe themselves emotionally. I would also like to introduce you to the obesity systems map, which I am a little bit obsessed with. And this is something our government came up with in 2007 to try and look at reducing our obesity epidemic, which when the stuff they've come up with is sugar tax and putting calories on menus, I think they are doing a pretty shit job of that. But the obesity systems map shows us 108 different variables that can impact somebody's ability to maintain a healthy body weight and increase the risk of somebody developing obesity. There's so many different things on here, and one part of this is a calorie deficit or energy balance. So there's loads of different things like environmental factors, genetics like we've already discussed, socio-economic status, access to food, access to education, somebody's environment, mental health, physical health, hormones. There are so many different things at play that can increase the risk of somebody living with obesity. I am not saying that everybody who is obese needs or should use a GLP-1 medication, but what I am saying is that as health and fitness professionals, we need to be educating people on how essential lifestyle changes, increasing protein, ways people can do that, practical ways, and how people can get into resistance training if they aren't already doing so. And that is what our job is as coaches, nutritionists, personal trainers. It isn't our job to be scaring people away from using medications that they are prescribed to improve their health. Now, of course, these drugs are being abused for aesthetic reasons and they are getting into the hands of people who do not need them, and that is terrifying. But our job is to support clients in front of us who have potentially struggled with their weight their whole lives, and finally, maybe they are using something that is actually helping them make the changes and take the steps required to support their health. And let's not forget that picture that you have seen that shows us the bones of somebody using GLP-1 medication would be exactly the same as the bones of somebody who had lost weight using any other fast method, whether that's the cabbage soup diet, fasting, keto, and also looks very similar to bones as we age. So this is why we need to be supporting people with understanding how they can change their whole lifestyles, yes, for their health right now and for their bone health right now, but also for their health long term. And that is what we should be doing. Instead of just jumping on the bandwagon and terrifying anybody using GLP-1s, telling them that they're going to destroy bone density and they're just fucked, so people should avoid them. That is not our job as coaches. So yes, hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully it's provided some reassurance if you are prescribed GLP-1 medications. And I have shared links for podcasts in the notes below so you can go and learn a little bit more. But any questions, please feel free to send them my way.